What is up, guys? Welcome to this video. Thank you for coming by. Today we'll be going over whether you should invest in cannabis or not. The cannabis industry lately has started to take off, however it is experiencing a few problems and a lot of people don't really know yet if they should invest or not. Well, in this video I will go over all the information you need to know before you can make an informed decision on whether you should invest in cannabis or not. However, I am not a financial advisor, so my opinions should not dictate what you do. Whether you invest in cannabis or not should be completely done on your research and not just solely on my opinion. Anyways, guys, let's get to it. I never really thought about investing in the cannabis industry until recently. Up until October of last year, October of 2020, cannabis companies were actually underperforming and not making a profit. They were actually decreasing in stock market value over time from around 2018 up until late 2020. However, around October of 2020, several companies started to go up in value, such as Cannabis and Afiria. Not sure if I pronounced that right, and I'm sorry if I didn't. But after the 2020 presidential election, when Joe Biden took presidency, 5 states actually went on to legalize marijuana in some form or fashion. On top of that, the House passed the MORE Act, which, if you don't know what the MORE Act is, it's basically an act that aims to decriminalize marijuana and try to make some reform with cannabis laws, and I will leave a link down below for you to check out what that act entails, but I won't cover that in this video. Some news that is bringing a lot of attention to the cannabis industry is that Senator Majority Leader Senator Schumer and also Senator Booker have announced that they will be focusing on legalizing marijuana within the next year. So this is a very big news. However, President Joe Biden says that he doesn't plan on fully legalizing marijuana for legal purposes, or not legal, but recreational purposes. He is focused on making it fully legal for medical purposes at least. So without a doubt, within these next 4 years, weed or cannabis, whatever you want to call it, should be legal on the federal level in the US. That is safe to assume. It's not 100%, but since the Democrats have control of the Senate, the House, and also the executive branch, what their agenda is most likely going to pass. So this is very big news for the cannabis industry. Right now, the stocks, the top companies such as Cannabis, Tilray, Afiria, they have been slightly underperforming, not making a profit. They're not doing as well as you would hope they would if you were to invest in them. However, with 5 new states in the US legalizing marijuana in some form or fashion, with the head politicians in Washington, D.C. Basically promising that they are going to take action for reforming cannabis laws, my confidence in the next 4 years that cannabis is going to be legal in some form or fashion, at least medically or recreationally, is very, very certain. Even if marijuana is not legalized recreationally, if it's legalized federally across all states, medically, there is still hundreds of billions of dollars to be made. If you look at it in Europe, the value of the cannabis industry in Europe is worth around $25 billion. So once again, even if it's not legalized federally for recreational purposes, there is still a lot of profits or a lot of appreciation to be made due to all of the medical purposes that the cannabis can serve. So far, Canada allows for recreational cannabis use, marijuana use. However, lots of countries in Europe, and especially America, have not legalized cannabis on a federal level. With current trends, though, that we have seen the past few years, I have to say it's safe to bet that cannabis will be legal in America and a lot of the Western countries such as Europe within a couple of years, maybe a decade. But it's safe to assume that year by year, more and more people are going to be able to use weed or cannabis legally. Canada is the only country in the Western Hemisphere that has legalized marijuana for recreational uses. Now, there are several states, but it is not legalized on a federal level in the US. And if you look at Europe, there's a lot of countries there that have not fully legalized marijuana. And I am predicting, just with how everything has been going and the momentum, At some point, all these countries will have legalized marijuana. The question though is just when. How long will that take? It could take a couple years, it could take a couple decades. No one's really 100% sure. That is the unknown in this equation. Now, I do not believe this will happen very quickly. I'm sure this will happen over a very long span of time. However, I am making this recommendation to invest in cannabis, not for the short term or mid-term, but of a long-term investment. Although marijuana has suffered some downfalls, especially in the past 2 years and since the beginning of the coronavirus, since October of 2020, there has been some form of life. However, the cannabis industry is losing money and is underperforming due to the legal boundaries that they have to operate in. I think now is a very smart time to invest in the cannabis industry, especially after the cannabis industry taking a short downfall in the past 2 years. I believe the stock is for sale or it's undervalued. It has so much potential, but right now there's not much they can do. It's more of a waiting game until more countries start loosening regulations on cannabis. So if you don't agree with me, this next part of the video will be kind of worthless because I'm going to go into what are the best companies to invest in or the best way to invest in the cannabis industry. If you don't think it's a good idea, then you should probably just leave this video, but thanks for watching. Now, right now there's no clear winner or no clear leader right now in the cannabis industry. There's not one company that is obvious to win in the future. It's more of a guessing game at this point. However, I'll go over the top companies that you can look at and you can make a decision for yourself. The top companies right now include Aferia, Ornogram Holdings, Cresco Labs, Coral Leaf Holdings, Green Thumb Industries, True Leaf Cannabis Corp, GW Pharmaceuticals, ETFMG Alternative Harvest ETF. Now what you could do is take these companies and perform fundamental analysis on them. If you don't know what fundamental analysis is, I can leave another link in the video to show you how to do that, and you can see which companies have the healthiest financials. And those companies that have the healthiest financials are likely to perform better in the future. However, the way that I would go about it is investing in an ETF. And an ETF is basically a combination of these companies. You're basically investing in the industry as a whole instead of as a company. Investing in an ETF is a safer bet. However, with less risk, generally there is less return. I have provided here a list of the 3 best performing ETFs in the past year in the cannabis industry. The first one, Advisor Shares Pure Cannabis ETF, are with the ticker name YOLO. Performance over 1 year has grown over 45% with an expense ratio of 0.74% and an annual dividend yield of 4.24%. Next up is Amplify Seymour Cannabis ETF or CNBS. Performance over 1 year is 28.9%, an expense ratio of 0.75%, and an annual dividend yield of 0.43%. Lastly, there is the Cannabis ETF, or the THCX, with a performance over 1 year of 9.6%, expense ratio of 0.7%, and an annual dividend yield of 6.35%. These ETFs on average outperform the average company within the industry, so it's a more safe bet, and I definitely highly suggest using an ETF over picking a cannabis company because there's really no clear way of determining who is going to be the winner and who is going to be the loser 10 years from now. It's very hard to do, and it's better to go with an ETF, which are already providing high returns, than to try to bet and guess on which company is going to win. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope it was informative and you learned and have taken away something from it. Leave a comment down below if you do plan on investing in cannabis in the future. Also, please leave suggestions in the comment section below of other industries that you want covered next.